What is going on, everybody? Happy Friday. Hope you're all having a good one. Just wanted to say this will probably be the last regular season baseball show. I'm sure I'll definitely drop in some playoff ones. Maybe Sheets will join me. We'll see what happens with that. But I think it's our last regular season one, and let's make it a good one. Let's go out on a high note. Been an up and down season. I've had stretches where I've crushed and stretches where I've just been absolutely crushed for months. And yeah, Sheets, how are you feeling about this slate? And you ready to jump into it?
Yeah, I had a chance last night in one of the GPPs. I had all those Dodgers started to come through for me, and I almost won a tournament with like Robbie Ray as my pitcher, which is kind of interesting.
What did you
Anyway,
end up? Did you end up putting up any points? I had no idea.
no, like 5.
Oh yeah.
But everybody else smashed, like Buxton and Seager and all the I mean, so it didn't really matter. So in any case, yeah, let's get it done. Let's get you a W to close up well, not close the season. I mean, you're going to probably play over the weekend, but as far as our breakdowns go, let's break it down and
let's do it.
Are you going to be available for live later?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, great.
Okay,
good. So let's I'll share my screen and we'll get moving. Let's see.
All right. Yeah, it's a weird not a weird slate. It's just interesting. Just be aware there's going to be a lot of lineups that come out that are probably going to be different than what you're seeing as a projected lineup right now. Just because there's people are going to play some of the other guys. Like it's the end of the season. It's a totally, it's a little bit for some of these teams going to be kind of a crapshoot. But the first game is not one of those games because you have Boston as well. I guess it isn't on the Boston side anyway. I like Erod. He's on my list. I don't know where I'm going to end up with him, but as of right now, I have him as a guy. Washington has not been the most strikeout heavy team. Erod's got a K prop of about 5.5. Hasn't put up 20 fantasy points, but one time in his last 7 starts. And I'm still open to him though. I think he's interesting. I like his price tag, and I actually think the Washington lineup that might be rolled out there might be a little bit weaker than what we've got. They're just not a really strikeout heavy team, although you've got a couple guys who haven't been in the lineup much who have to do some research on their overall numbers in the minors strikeout wise. But I don't know. I'm open to Erod, and I like the Washington stack. I like the Boston stack. I feel tired of saying it because it hasn't been working out great. But if people are going to get off of it now, I'll take another shot.
Yeah, I like Erod as kind of a secondary. I have like one guy's my top pitcher, and then I have about like 4 guys that I could use as my second one. Mm-hmm. And Erod is certainly one of those prospects. In addition to that, I guess I'm just going to continue to become disappointed with the Red Sox, and I'll have to play them again. I have them ranked so far as my second best stack on DraftKings, and I'm probably going to roll them out again.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. It's there's a million things that play into it, but it's been underperforming. The one thing I'm doing with the Red Sox that I've been doing, and of course now he'll probably hit 2 home runs tonight, is I've at least been trying to keep my Red Sox stacks. Well, I've been playing just Seager as my shortstop and just keep my Red Sox stacks with like Seager as my shortstop because Bogaerts has been really bad. But then again, I mean, I don't know. I'm interested in the Red Sox. I don't know where they're going to end up for me. I'm getting a little tired of it, but at the same time, it's baseball. Teams go through weird little stretches, and maybe they're pressing a little because they need to win. I don't know. I'm interested in it. All right, Tampa Bay and New York.
Just a huge win by the Yankees last night.
That was a big one, yeah.
I mean, Aaron Judge just showed up, yeah. 2 big time home runs, and in what was a close game too. That was a big performance. Basically, I don't want to say locking it down, but that really put the hammer on their playoff hopes, I believe. In any case, I didn't get to McClanahan or Cortez in this spot, nor did I get to the hitting. Do you like any of this?
I like the Yankees.
You like the Yankees again?
Tampa Bay has nothing to play for. McClanahan will probably be limited somewhat. He's really good. I think that way. But it's the same thing as Robbie Ray, and McClanahan is not Robbie Ray at the moment. Going to win the Cy Young this year. You throw a hard throwing lefty against the Yankees, and it's not going to be an easy day at the office for them. And then with the bullpen, I don't know that they're going to even put their best foot forward. They genuinely have nothing to play for. And maybe you could say, okay, they want to get 100 wins. I believe they're at 98. I could be wrong about that. I don't have my standings up in front of me. But I think the Yankees, at least as, they're expensive, they're hard to get in and all that stuff, but maybe just the one-off Yankee thing. I think I sort of say the same thing every day. And I think it's kind of accurate how you play the Yankees for the most part. You can take especially against lefties, you could take a Stanton, a Judge, you could play Sanchez. Those are the guys who I'm interested in for the most part, but probably not going to be a main full stack for me. But I do think as for one-offs, they're interesting.
Okay.
All right. How about the Toronto-Baltimore game? Now we get to go and have Toronto be the ultimate chalk. I will be definitely interested in this. I have this as the number one stack. In terms of production, there's a few cheap bats or cheapish bats, and should have Jansen and Dickerson in the lineup tonight. Kind of a must-win spot here for the Blue Jays. I will eat some of the Blue Jay chalk. I think it's going to be harder for people to get Guerrero in than usual, and I don't think that the chalk will be quite so bad where I will have to stay off of it. But I have Toronto as one of the top stacks, maybe my top stack so far.
What about Steven Matz?
No way.
Really?
Seen the story 100 times. It's never, not once has it worked out. I'm not going to keep doing it. I think what is his season high against them, and like 5 starts is like 14 fantasy points, and everybody wants to play him against Baltimore. It makes no sense to me at all. I think I don't care about the results. It's a terrible play in my opinion.
Yeah.
I
have Matz as a secondary. Yeah. I'm just telling you, I have Matz as a secondary SP2. Just for lack of other options, I guess. But I have him in there. And then I have Toronto also as one of the top options, but I don't have them standing out quite as much when you consider price also. So if they're going to be really chalky, it's possible that
they can't be really chalky because the prices.
Right, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
So I might get off of them, but obviously Toronto's camera, Eshelman, it's you know what I mean. It's I definitely like them, but I don't have them as a priority to get in. So for me, we're a little different. I guess on this one, I think Matz is in my pool more than yours, and I'm not as excited about Toronto.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I can't find other pitchers, but I can't see the argument for taking a team that doesn't strike out against left-handed pitching, a team that's faced this guy 5 times or 4 times this year, and he's never had one outing that's even somewhat adequate against them. The 14 fantasy points is about the most you can ask for from him. He did have 6 strikeouts in that one game. I guess that can give you like a little bit of hope, but the soft throwing lefty against this team that doesn't strike out against lefties just seems like
I guess you kind of want to find 100 for Suarez.
I mean, no, I would rather just play Erod.
Right. Well, right now I'm looking at both Erod.
Yeah. This is an interesting, this Philly-Miami game. So it's over with for Philly. Dunzo. I love both these pitchers, and I really love Alcantara if you can get to him. I think that he is the best option. I've been saying it forever. This guy is really good, and it's just sort of taking his time to get, that's what happens with a lot of pitchers. This year he's looked like that. If you took him his second half of the year, this guy would be a freaking Cy Young contender. He's been really, really good. So Alcantara, I think, is the top pitching option on the slate. He's just expensive. Can you find that extra 1,500 for him over these other guys? I think you probably can. Suarez will be more owned because he's facing Miami. I don't know what kind of lineup Philadelphia is going to roll out today. It's tough. It's tough. First of all, they're on the road. They're moving after being eliminated from the postseason. And I think anyway, I like both these pitchers quite a bit.
Yeah, I disagree with the assessment of Alcantara being the best pitcher option on the slate. We'll get, I like Lynn more, but we can argue about that later. But I like Suarez. I think he's better than Matz, as you perfectly pointed out. And Miami's just been, well, except for last night, Miami's been just giving pitchers a platform to score a lot of fantasy points. And Suarez has been pitching great. He just has. Yeah. So I like him a lot.
I really like the over on strikeouts for Alcantara in this matchup. His over under is 6. He's averaging about 9.5 a game over his last 15 or his last 11 starts. I guess one start against Colorado sort of changes it. So no, it's not. Yeah, it's about 9.5 a game. Yeah, I understand the Lynn thing, but there's nothing for Lynn to play for, and while there's nothing for Alcantara to play for, it's very different when you letting a pitcher just cruise out. And by the way, Philly's lineup again, you might literally see like nobody's name you recognize. They might just put everybody back out there, but on the road going into Miami, I just get the feeling that they're gonna sit the studs and maybe even sit them the rest of the year. I don't know. All right, next game, McGill against Inoa. Another two teams with nothing to play for, but Atlanta is recently the team with nothing to play for. I think Inoa is like, an option. Not what I'm going to use, but I guess is just below the other guys for me. I think McGill, depending on what kind of lineup Atlanta rolls out tonight, because they just, they clinched out also. I think McGill is mildly interesting. High upside, low, huge downside. And it really depends on what kind of lineup we expect to see from Atlanta. If I were Atlanta, this would naturally seemingly be the day off you get for your starters, or at least some of them. So if they roll out a weak lineup, I'll have McGill on my list, I guess is where I'm at. But I'm not really interested in the offenses here.
Yeah, what I'm getting actually, and then again, this is early, but my third ranked value stack on the slate are the Mets actually. Don't know why, where, or who. Probably a couple of cheapos in there.
They are cheap, yeah.
So that's what I'm getting from this game. I'm not getting much of the hitting, but I'm definitely going to take a look at the Mets side. Nothing to play for, but they still get their at bats, right?
But the only problem, Sheets, it breaks your rule. Is they just scored 700 runs yesterday.
They did. But
I get it.
Yeah, so I do have the Mets in there. So just.
I can see a mini Met stack making sense. They are really cheap. Alonso at 4K. I mean, he did hit 2 home runs yesterday, and then Baez at 41. Even Lindor under 5 is fine with me. And then Conforto is just actually, you know what? I'm just going to prioritize Conforto actually on both sides. I didn't realize he was still so. I mean, I don't understand that he's. I like Conforto's price a lot. 2,300 on FanDuel, 29 on DK. I'm glad you pointed that one out to me because I might have skipped past that. Eli Morgan and Spencer Howard. I have interest in Eli Morgan.
Ooh, that's something.
Yeah, I think that, why would we ignore a guy who, 3 out of his last 5 starts he's put up 20, 22, 28, and 30 against one of the 3-4 worst offenses against right-handed pitching in baseball. There's some room for this kid, and his price is nice. Just take the easy over on the 3.5K prop. That's like really, really dumb. It's a dumb number for him. I don't think he's some amazing pitcher. It's Texas. He's one of the, he's a little value tier lower. He's had some nice strikeout games recently, and actually some much tougher matchups than this one. Put up 23 against the Red Sox. I guess everybody does that now. But 28 last time out against the White Sox. And I just think it's a good spot, for him. But it's not an exciting play. It's just something I'm considering. And I am not going to go for the Spencer Howard. I actually think that the Indians are an interesting, maybe a mini stack more because they're expensive as well. They're expensive and cheap. So you can play the Zimmer and Ramirez, but you have to use your outfield spots. And then you play Jose Ramirez and Reyes, but that would be all your outfield spots. It's a hard stack to actually want to build. But I think that I like the opportunity for them, even though I hate taking teams in Texas.
Yeah, I didn't get so much in this game, so I will default to your Eli Morgan, and I'll take a look at that a little bit later.
Yeah.
So I like Lynn. Nothing to play for, but I'll take my 6 innings. I'll take my 6 innings against Detroit. I just don't see too much on the slate. As far as who's going to score those kind of fantasy points. I guess you know what? I guess you identified the guy, Alcantara.
Alcantara has been the highest scoring pitcher, I think, for the last couple month and a half or so. I think he's the highest fantasy producer. Not sure.
Yeah, so maybe him, but I think Lynn is fair. I think Lynn's pretty safe actually. I'm at 9,500. So I do like him. I didn't get to any White Sox. I certainly didn't get any to Peralta. And so I don't want to say make the case against. I'm going to make the case against Lynn, but make the case. Talk about Lynn a little bit.
The case for Lynn is that he keeps the ball on the ground usually, a little less so this season. That he doesn't get wild at all. that he can go, he doesn't need, he's not going to throw more than, my guess is he throws a 90 pitch range. I don't think I think it'll be probably a ceiling of maybe a little bit higher for him, but I think it's a real ceiling. Like I think you might see him like throw 75 pitches. And I'm not going to spend 9,500 on a guy who may throw 75 pitches. He's really struggled the second half of the year. He's been really bad. And well, the Detroit team is certainly a team you want to target against. I mean, you just look at, game log watch for a minute. He hasn't had one game at 30, whereas, just thinking about it, I know this is not the best way to analyze things. He hasn't had one game at 30 where Alcantara has had, 7 in the last 11 starts. Alcantara's been over 30. So Lynn is what people will do. I am probably going to go Alcantara. I might have a little Lynn with him. This is an easy strikeout prop for me. I would take the under on the 7.5 for Lynn. I just don't, I don't really see what everyone is seeing. He's been different. He's not been the same pitcher in the second half of the season. He has, how many games has he been over 7 strikeouts? 1, 2 in the second half of the season, I believe. I don't know. It's a great matchup. I just think if one guy's going to be 40% owned and he's not, I think Alcantara is the better pitcher. The matchup is a little different. I'm into the Alcantara thing, but I don't mind playing the two of them together. I don't know where I stand with this. He's looked really off to me, and the White Sox have been extremely limiting to their pitchers for good reason. They have a million, they won the division a year and a half ago. And I think this is like a keep Lynn loose kind of a game. Maybe throw 75, 80 pitches where Alcantara might throw 120. So that's
Oakland, Houston. Any interest? I didn't get to him. Should I be playing Manaea or not really?
Yeah, I want to see how the lineup shakes out. I think Manaea is another great example of a guy with a high upside. It's interesting because Manaea probably is a better like GPP kind of a play. I think the over on his 4.5 strikeouts is a really good bet. I think this is a great day to take Caper to bet on these props, by the way. Maybe I get some monkey knife fight action going because a lot of these numbers are really weird. And again, you don't know what kind of lineup. When teams are in some cases traveling, or either way that the division's been wrapped up, yeah, they might let their guys bat, but they might let them only have 2 at bats. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's no real reason to risk anything for these teams. So you have him facing a Houston team that might have like all of the young guys, all the secondary players. And this is a great opportunity. And even against the regular Houston team, I think Manaea ends up over 4.5 strikeouts at least 65-75% of the time, maybe even higher. So I really like that. Manaea, Morgan, and under Lynn. All right, but I do think Manaea is like a long shot tournament play that I think is really interesting. And if Houston's lineup looks bad when it comes out, we should jump on that. But no interest in the bats for me. I don't know about you, Sheets.
Nope.
I don't even know who's pitching for Houston.
I have Valdez actually.
Yeah, and it's probably going to be just a warm up, keep it loose kind of a thing, So I don't think you can really think about him. I'm not even sure that's going to end up happening. I don't know.
I wonder what kind of season, as we go to this next game, Buxton would have had if he wasn't hurt earlier.
Oh, I know, man. So he's amazing, isn't he?
Yeah.
By the way, that was easy. That was my one call of the day. I said Buxton.
You were wrong. You said he hit a home.
I was wrong. He hit 2 of them. I know.
Yeah.
And how do you build a lineup with good pitching yesterday? And I had Seager and Buxton, and somehow the lineup gets nothing. It doesn't even count. I thought that usually that's enough on its own. Next game, Gant, and this is probably a good game to target for offense. John Gant is not a good pitcher. This is a bad bullpen. I know, just in all honesty, almost nothing about John Heasley. I think this is a game I might want to get interested in. I'm going to take a look at the weather a little bit later. Actually, I could probably do that. It's not updated yet. Let's see. I wanted to see if it looks like there's any extra reason to give this game sort of one of those weird games. Yeah, it's wind blowing out a little out, and that's basically neutral wind, 75 degrees, which is nice temperature this time of year, 79% humidity. I think this is a game where you might just think about the whole game. I just like both sides of the offenses here. So I think the KC and Minnesota, I think that they're going to have some ownership, especially Minnesota. And as we just said, like Buxton at, we were joking about 3.2, how ridiculous his price was. I will say his price is ridiculous at 4.7. I think he should be the same price as Mookie Betts. I think his production, fantasy wise, is better than Mookie Betts. He's going to be owned. So will Donaldson. I like Sano also, and I like Polanco, who, by the way, has quietly hit over 30 home runs again. And again, he's quietly hit over 30 home runs. And then you've got the weird, really cheap and really expensive Royals that we can go back to from our early season. I really like this game. It's an off the path game, and I think it's really interesting.
Yeah, I don't think it's particularly off the path with respect to the Minnesota side.
I didn't mean unowned. I meant like a game that no one really cares about. There's nobody's playing.
Oh, from a baseball perspective.
Yeah, sorry, my bad.
Yeah, they're my top ranked stack on the board, Minnesota, which is probably why. I mean, they're going to be chalky as a result. I mean, they're very. I think they're pretty cheap, and they currently rank as my top stack. So I'm going to be into that. I didn't quite look at the Kansas City side, but the Minnesota side, I mean, clearly, premier option for me.
Yeah, I think the thing also, you have the KC side, you get Santana at 2,800.
Yes.
Taylor at 2,200 if you wanted to make the full stack. Even if
isn't Salvador Perez going for his 80th home run or something?
Salvador Perez is going to break the record from 780 home runs in this game.
Exactly.
All right, Chicago St. Louis, no line on this game. I don't know that I want to do anything here. I honestly don't know who shows up for these teams. I genuinely don't. And I'm just probably staying away from this one at the moment.
Is this the type of game where if you get like just a crappy lineup for St. Louis that you could play Alzolay or not really?
I like Alzolay, but like, what are we talking price wise? Like, am I going to really play him over Alcantara and Lynn? He hasn't thrown more than 4 innings and 17 starts or something. Not really, but a bunch of starts. They're bringing him back. There's no reason for them to let him do much. I think that they like his future enough, and I don't know. I just don't see him going anywhere. I actually think that the real argument would be Dakota Hudson, who actually has a 4.5 K prop, which is kind of surprising. I could see him having a game here if they let him go, but I don't think they would let him go for any reason. At the same time, maybe they would let him go and because everybody else on their team actually is going to be important to the playoff success. So maybe they want him to throw 75. I mean, honestly, if he was going to throw 80 pitches, I think he's interesting at 6.8. As another weird, like, low spend down. I mean, that is interesting to have a 4.5 K prop on a guy who has pitched one time basically this season and thrown 3 innings, but it is the Cubs. And again, if they give him 80 pitches, I think there's a path for him, but probably not going to make my lineups.
Good.
All right. You want to take away the Arizona Colorado game?
I didn't get any of this.
What about John Gray?
What about John Gray, huh?
Yeah.
He's a good pitcher.
Yes.
And now he's away from Colorado, and
Yep.
he's against Arizona, and he's 7,700.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
I think it's interesting. I mean, I know I've said that about a lot of people.
I didn't have that as my first look, but maybe that's not the worst idea in the world.
Yeah, and so these teams that are eliminated that weren't recently eliminated or anything like that have been out of it for a while, I think that he's got a completely normal leash, which is over 100 pitches. I think that the Arizona, we know how much they've struggled. Which, by the way, the weird part is since they've brought up these kids, their offense has looked a little bit better.
Okay.
So they actually and they've got Calhoun back, so they're a little bit stronger than they were before. I like John Gray a little bit, and honestly, if you just put any other team other than Colorado outside of Colorado in this matchup against Castellanos and Arizona, I would say stack that team without even caring. And probably if you're playing a bunch of lineups, you should consider Colorado tonight. But I am not. I can't bring myself to quite do it. I do think Trevor Story is a great value, but I just like other stacks better. I don't want to play everybody, but John Gray. This is a day where I think you want to have like some different angles to take and try and get a lot of entries out there, which is what I'm going to do, because there's a lot of different possibilities, and a new series to start the end of the season. A lot of teams might just totally pack it in. Other teams might bring up all the young guys, which brings up value. It's just going to depend on how things shake out. But if Colorado had like three new names in the lineup tonight, I might look at stacking them at a really cheap price, but probably not going to do it for now. I do have interest in Gray though.
Hey, the more I'm looking at it, by the way, I was just looking at my sheets on the other monitor. And just before we leave this game completely, just because I don't want to get off of that, is I do actually have, now that I look at it, KC as my 5th ranked stack. So if I have Minnesota first and KC 5th, yeah, I kind of agree with you more than I let on. I think that both those sides are really strong. I think you can game stack that pretty nicely, actually.
Yeah, you cross your fingers for extreme hitters umpire and let's let it roll.
There was some guy I was sweating some pitcher, some umpire was just so he was just bad. The guy from whoever it was from the Orioles game, like he was just totally inconsistent. Like first he would give Pivetta this like strike at like the eyes, and then like squeeze him with like these pitches that were just completely on the outside corner. He was just like totally all over the place. I guess these umpires are trying to mail in the season also if they know they don't have a playoff assignment.
I'll tell you what, these umpires, the fact that they still exist for calling balls and strikes is going to be looked at. I mean, but for the rest of the world of sports fans who looks at this, it's the dumbest thing that's ever happened. It would be like still having line judges entirely instead of being able to use the little beeper in tennis. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, why are we doing this in this day and age? Strike's a strike. By the way, if you watch some old baseball games, you see exactly how bizarre and bad it was, and how if your name was Greg Maddux, if you had the right name, you're getting every call that's not even borderline. You're just getting every call.
Yeah.
Anyway, San Diego, San Francisco, please, Padres. It's really a shame, man. The Dodgers and Giants, I'm sorry, they're clearly better than everybody else in baseball. It's maybe Tampa Bay, and you argue Houston, sure. But these guys just win every single game, and the Dodgers can't make up any ground because the Giants win every single game. They're going to win. I mean, you're going to have 2 of the best records in the last 20 years of baseball for each of these teams. I don't think I want to play DeScalfani, but I'm sort of, actually, you know what? Why don't I want to play DeScalfani? I guess is a better question. He just put up 20 against these guys. The strikeout rate has been really low since he came back from the injury. That worries me. But he's a solid real life pitcher, pitching in the best pitcher's park in baseball. Mild interest there. I don't know who the Padres are rolling out. Who do you have for the Padres right now?
Musgrove?
Maybe. They should do it. The problem is, here's what happens. Do the Padres hate the Dodgers more than wanting to knock a team out of the playoff thing? I think they do. So I think you're going to see a weird situation. I've got Kinnear, whatever, as the pitcher. So I hope it's Musgrove for the Dodgers' sake, and I hope the Padres go out there and try to win all the games, but I don't know what they're going to really do. So if Musgrove pitches, I guess you could add him to the list. I think he's got a leash. Like they'll let him they'll either let him try and go, or they'll completely give him up. And I don't know. I'm not very interested in any aspect of this game except for hoping the Giants lose.
Yeah.
That's why there's no line on the game.
Again, boy, Musgrove would be kind of a cool play.
Yeah.
I'm going to look at him again later.
I think that's why there's no line, is I don't think he's going to pitch. I mean, he might, but there's no line on this game. And I'm guessing it's because we don't know if Musgrove's pitching.
And that's probably why I don't have my list. I don't even have him projected, because they didn't know, and nobody knows who was going to pitch.
Yeah. All right. So this is an interesting spot, this next game. I don't understand why the K prop is as high as it is for Kershaw. 6.5 feels like a lot for a guy who's only pitching 4 innings right now. Now you could say, oh, the Dodgers need to win. The Dodgers are logical. Okay. They won't need Kershaw for the play-in game or anything. For the wild card game, they won't need him for anything like that. But we haven't, he's pitched 2 times. And by the way, those were 2 weeks apart. And he's pitched twice in the last, 3 months. I don't think it's a very viable route. I think there's a path where maybe he gets you to 20 some odd fantasy points. I don't think there's a real ceiling at 10K, so I'm not going to be playing him. And I know Milwaukee has a good bullpen, and I know the teams in baseball love to try and be relevant as long as they can. But the thing is, Milwaukee's in the playoffs. They don't need to use all these stud arms they have in the bullpen. And the Dodgers are going to show up as a stack for me tonight. And there's nothing anybody can do about it. They've been playing really well under the pressure. They've, even if they're not scoring a ton of runs, when they don't score a ton of runs, they at least hit a few home runs for you. I like this team a lot. And like I said, when Corey Seager gets that power back going, it doesn't really stop. And I'm just going to keep playing him and load up on it in general. They're not at my top stack by any means, but I think that they are extremely viable. and just hard to get to. Probably better play, probably easier to play on FanDuel, I should say.
Yeah, I didn't quite get to the Dodgers, but I can certainly be, you know what I mean, be talked into it. I just like the other ones a little bit better. I like, for raw points, I like Toronto better. I like Boston better. And for value, I like Minnesota, Mets, and KC better. But yeah, they did good for me last night. And like I said, these guys start hitting. I mean, Betts just came right out of the gate. Just did he get 2 home runs? He had 2 home runs, right?
Yeah, they went back to back to open the game up after hitting 5 in the last 2 innings of the previous game.
Yeah, so they're ready for the playoffs.
Well, I hope it's not just one game. That's all I'm praying for.
Right.
I like our odds against Wainwright if it is, by the way, though. But
yeah, I think so, right?
yeah, but still, I mean, it's one game in baseball. It's horrifying. And it's for a team that won this many games and has been this dominant. I mean, since they made the trade.
And who's gonna pitch for the Dodgers?
I'm sure it'll be Scherzer. It depends on what happens in the next 2 days because
Scherzer's not been good.
Yes, he has.
Okay.
Since he's been a Dodger, he's won the Cy Young because of how well he's pitched. He's been pretty awesome. He just had a bad outing last time out.
Okay.
But I mean, it could I wouldn't hate if Buehler went out there, but I think you'd want the dominant guy rather than the consistent guy. Actually, Scherzer's pretty consistent too. He just had one bad game. All right, last game of the night, the Angels in Seattle. Where is Seattle at right now? I actually didn't double check that this morning.
They're in trouble.
They're done.
No, but they need to win out.
Do they?
I think so. Oh, they definitely need to win out.
Well, I know I thought they got.
Well, maybe not. They all know Toronto. I think. Look at this.
Yeah, they're right. No, they're tied with Boston right now.
Okay.
So they're actually tied for the playoff spot right now.
Okay.
So this is a huge game for them. I mean, what a great story for Seattle. By the way, Sheets, I did my baseball bets last year. I was a year off with them, and not that they're not going to win the World Series, but I bet Seattle and KC at 1,500 to 1 last year to win the World Series. 1,500 to 1 should never happen for any team. But Seattle, I mean, just if your team makes the playoffs, you could probably cash out for I don't know, at least getting 20 times on your money or something like that. With all that said, I will go back to the fact that I'm going to say that Suarez is a better pitcher than most people think. I know he didn't look good last time. I'm not going to play him, but it wouldn't surprise me if he had a decent game. He does have a 4.5 K prop, and he's 6,200. I'm not going to play Marco Gonzalez. I think, again, best foot forward doesn't mean that you're going to let your starter go all the way, but he has been really good. Maybe I will consider Marco Gonzalez. He's going to be owned, and that sort of makes me a little bit less interested. It is the Angels, though, so I kind of have to just put Gonzalez on my list. I'm not interested in the hitting in this game particularly. If there was anything I would do, it would be Haniger, who's just a little too expensive for me. So I don't think I'm going to play any hitting, and I will have Gonzalez in my pool of pitchers. Are you going to say stack the Angels again?
I am not. I'm going to say that I would consider playing Marco Gonzalez.
Okay.
He actually, for me right now, the way I have it right now in my initial thing, I have Lynn up top, and then Suarez, Gonzalez, Ranger Suarez, Gonzalez, Erod, and Matz. So I definitely, I'm definitely into maybe playing some Gonzalez in a must-win game. I know you said Seattle's a good bullpen, so they're not going to, whatever. But if he's pitching well, I mean, I think they'll let him keep pitching. And I'm just looking at this he's got 100. He pitches 100 pitches every game. So I'm kind of into that actually. So for me, Suarez, Gonzalez, Erod's going to, he's in the same spot. I mean, they have to win.
Yeah, but that could be a bad thing too.
That could be a bad thing. They didn't feel like leaving Sale and they need to win then too. And he's their best pitcher. Right. That's Excuse me, Pivetta came out pretty early too. He was doing fine.
Oh, they're gonna bring in their best other arms anytime they have the opportunity to. Yeah. But I still do like Erod anyway. It's still a big thing moving to the National League. I think that's a fair. I'm sort of I actually do agree with you about Gonzalez that he's more in play maybe than I thought. I have an interesting, to sum it up for me for pitching, I have Alcantara as number 1. And I think Suarez, it's weird that those are probably my 2 favorite pitchers and they're in the same game. But I do think those guys are where I would lean first. And then Erod would be next for me. But then it's a whole mess of Lynn, Morgan, Manaya, Gray, Gonzalez. I'm just debating between those guys, really. I don't know where I'm going to end up at the end of the day, but I will let you know at 6 Eastern because I think this is a really interesting slate. I think there's a lot of angles to take on these kind of, slates. It's not quite like basketball once a team gets eliminated where you get all the different value and the weird stuff, but it's a little bit like that. So we might get some great lineups anyway. And I like Boston. I like Toronto the best. Toronto, then KC, Minnesota, both sides, especially Minnesota, but they're going to be more popular. Then Boston for me, and then the Dodgers, followed by the Mets.
So for me, it was
pointed
Lynn
out.
at the top, then Suarez, Gonzalez, Erod, Matz, but Musgrove, I want to see if he's pitching, and I'll give Alcantara another look. Stacks, Minnesota, Boston, Mets, Toronto, and KC. But we will go over all of it at 6.
Sounds good. All right. Good luck to everybody today. Let's have some fun.
All right,
All
later.
right, Cheats. Take it easy.
Okay.
Good luck all.